What's good? What's good? What's good? We back. We back. Welcome to another episode of Think Pieces and Conversations, man. I got a little bit of a cold, so you gotta bear with me. Gotta bear with me, man. A lot has happened this week. A lot has happened in the news. A lot has happened in the politics field. A lot has happened on the news. There's a couple things that we just gotta talk about, man. We gotta talk about the CEOs, AbreCrombie and Fitch. That is a clothing brand I used to wear. Okay, Abercrombie and Fitch was for the fit dude. That was for the jock. That wasn't for the fat dude, the fat chick. That was for if you was fit. You wear the clothes tight. They always fit closer to the body. I always liked Abercrombie and Fitch back in the day in high school. Abercrombie and Fitch was like an upscale Aeropostale. It was more upscale than Aeropostale. Aeropostale was very we all used to wear it in high school because the shirt was $10, the jeans was $25. Like, it was cheap and it was down. It was in. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in my high school was wearing that. I graduated in 2009. We all wore that. But just like how last week we was talking about Diddy, another CEO has done something horrible. Abercrombie and Fitch's CEO has been charged with sex trafficking. Right now, I'm listening to it from Fox News YouTube. So let's check it out.
Fox 10:15 on the East Coast and 7:15 on the West Coast. Do want to get into some breaking news that we are covering right now as Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, arrested on sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. That is according to a spokesperson for federal prosecutors. The information coming in just moments ago here. Now, details of the criminal charges not immediately available, but they do come after years of sexual misconduct allegations that were made in civil lawsuits and the
From what I'm just hearing, what is with all these CEOs in this sex trafficking suit? Now, I know a couple details outside of this that they may discuss. That this CEO was trafficking grown men. Okay, Diddy was doing sex trafficking. This CEO was doing sex trafficking. Can somebody be legit, make it to the top, make a bunch of money without being into some weird activities? The thing with sex trafficking, though, sex trafficking has a lot of nuances in there, and the spectrum of it is very broad to where the regular person can be subject to sex trafficking if they're not careful. If you fly a chick out, no matter how much money you got, if you pay for a chick's ticket, you fly her out, she comes over to your house, regardless if she's feeling you, regardless if she gave you all the signals, the tells that, we're gonna have some fun, some extra fun. After you send her back home, she can say, yo, this man persuaded me to take a trip to wherever you at and to have sex with her. This man persuaded me to take a trip to wherever, Atlanta, New York, wherever you at, to have sex with him. They can report that to the police, and you can get a sex trafficking charge from that. This is a fact. This is a fact. This is not speculation. So nowadays, you got to be even more careful. This guy, the ex-AbreCrombie and Fitch CEO, he has 10 years of allegations. Now, the chickens came to roost, as they say.
The media from young people who did claim that Jeffries lured them with promises of modeling work and then pressed them into sexual acts. Jeffries was apparently arrested in West Palm Beach, Florida. That is according to NBC News, CNBC, and other media outlets. 2 others were also arrested. They have been identified as Matthew Smith of West Palm Beach and James Jacobson of Wisconsin in connection with those sex trafficking charges. Again, that is according to news outlets in that area. We know that Jeffries was the CEO of the New Albany, Ohio-based Abercrombie & Fitch from 1992 to 2014. Brooklyn-based U.S. Attorney Breon Pierce and FBI and police officials set to hold a news conference here at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. That is in just about 2 hours to provide more details. Now, a message from the Associated Press seeking comment was left for the attorney representing Jeffries, but information on attorneys for the other defendants not yet available. One civil lawsuit filed in New York last year accused Abercrombie of allowing Jeffries to run a sex trafficking organization during his 22-year tenure. It said that Jeffries had modeling scouts scouring the internet for victims and that some prospective models became sex trafficking victims. The BBC investigation included a dozen men who described being at events that involved sexual acts they said were staged by Jeffries and his partner Smith, often at his home in New York and hotels in London.
When you make this much money, you become this famous. You have years and years of freak offs. It seems like the likes of Diddy, the likes of Jeffries, they get so powerful and they become so untouchable. They don't care. It's like, yo, you come into the house, yo, let me get some modeling scouts. And I got too much going on. You're gonna, let me assign one of my secretaries to go do it. Get these models, bring them through, make them sign the NDA, and we're gonna pay them too, and we're gonna do what we want. Imagine the first year. The first year, you probably real nervous about it. You just started making money, blah blah blah. 5 years, you start to get the hang of it. Like, oh shit, we ain't been touched. Ain't nobody saying nothing. Like, whoever been saying stuff, we just gonna pay for that lawyer, pay our lawyer to get that out of there. And if anything, we're gonna get our settlement. If they want a settlement, we're gonna pay the settlement, and that's it. Like, we got the money. We're Abercrombie and Fitch. Now he is an ex-CEO, which means who knows how much hush money has been paid, was being paid. Who knows what's going on in today's time? Who knows? These grown men, which are victims, from what they say, they seem like they're grown. So I think they said some were young, but they didn't say underage. There's young and there's underage. So they got to differentiate what it is, because you could be 20 and young. Underage is underage. So these dudes been out here doing these crimes. Him and his partner been doing these crimes for 10 plus years. You're now an ex-CEO. You don't have the same type of pull. That hush money still probably has to be paid in today's age to some of these victims, which are men, grown men. If it's children, if it's women, it's different. But we got grown men that subjected themselves to this situation, regardless if they were wrongfully done or whatever. If they willfully wanted to go in there, it doesn't matter. Once they go to the police and they say, yo, this guy did this, he did this, oh, this man has a lot of money, oh, how many victims is it? Over 10? we could get a lot of publicity for this, for locking this guy up. Let's get this guy out of here. So it is what it is.
Paris and elsewhere. When the civil lawsuit was filed in New York last year, we are told that his attorney declined to comment on the allegations. Again, that is according to the Associated Press. And if you are just joining us, we are following this information here. Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of AbreCrombie and Fitch, arrested on sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. That is according to a spokesperson for federal prosecutors. Again, a news conference expected to get underway with the Brooklyn-based U.S. attorney and the FBI at 12 p.m. Eastern time in just about 2 hours. So we'll make sure to bring you all of those details as we do get them.
Hey, man, when you get a little money, man, don't be out here going sex crazy, or else that will be your ass. All right, so I was watching this Judge Joe Brown ex Candace Owens interview, right? I was watching this, and there was so many gems in here. I can't really do a full review of this because it's a 2 hours and 18-minute interview. Okay? This interview, this sit down, had Judge Joe Brown is very intelligent, highly intelligent. He keeps a lot of information in his head. He has a lot of details about people because he's been around them. He knows what's going on in politics. He knows what's going on with Kamala Harris and her background. He knows what's going on with presidents. He knows what's going on in the CIA. He knows what's going on with classified information that they may have covered up or they may have released. Like, this is the things he talks about. He puts it and articulates it in such a way where it's very easy to just follow what he's saying, and then you're just gonna be learning from him. But this particular clip, there's a couple clips I want to talk about. Manchurian Candidates. All right, Manchurian Candidates. And what my definition of a Manchurian candidate is: a candidate that has been bred to be a politician. You have been bred to lie your way to power and then do something totally different with the power. That is a Manchurian candidate. You just reading everything off the book, off the text, off the pre-written speeches. You don't have no extra oomph to anything that you're doing. Also, you have a family behind you that also were politicians. So we're gonna go through this clip, man. We're gonna go through this clip.
Starting to see, like, it isn't possible in my mathematical opinion that the odds are that all of these people that go on to become presidents or to these tremendous positions of power have these weird sexual perversion backgrounds, sort of upbringings. We're starting to see a little bit of a theme here, which kind of makes, I think, a person that has the capability to think on their own wonder, it's just a global operation to just kind of seed people into positions of power, and we're all just, the world is just a stage.
It's a family thing.
It's a family thing.
Have you ever heard of Samuel Hinckley?
Like, is he related to John Hinckley? No.
Hinckley. Look him up.
Is he related to the Hinckley that
Cape Cod?
shot?
No, remotely. But he had 7 of his descendants who were U.S. presidents, 1 who was a U.S. vice president, 1 who was governor of Alaska, 1 who, several billionaires. And what you find is, if you look up Samuel Hinckley, they will note some of his more interesting modern relatives or descendants. So here's the way it breaks down. Lolo Soetoro.
This is Barack Obama, just so everyone's watching, that's Barack Obama's stepfather, who he was raised with for the first 8 years of his life.
Okay, well, the rest of his life afterwards, Barry Soetoro has an interesting situation. His mother, on his maternal side, his grandfather was first cousin to President George Herbert
I want y'all to follow this. Barry Soetoro is allegedly Barack Obama's real name. Allegedly, that's his real name. Stepfather was a Soetoro. Barry Soetoro is Barack. Let's keep it going.
Herbert Walker Bush. So Jordan to President George Herbert Walker Bush was first cousin to President George Herbert Walker Bush. So George Herbert Walker Bush, George Walker Bush, Dick Cheney, vice president, they're all cousins. Sarah Palin is a cousin. Barack Obama is a cousin. George Herbert Walker, who founds Halliburton, is Uncle Herbie to all of them. And interestingly, when he was running against John McCain's running partner was his cousin, Sarah Palin, who was governor of Alaska. Real unholy alliance, right? So, other thing is
that all those people, you know all those names. If you've been watching politics, if you've just been watching the news for the past 15 years, 20 years, maybe if you caught a glimpse of it, you know, you might see him on TV here and there when the news pop up and the president pops up. You heard George Bush, you heard Sarah Palin before, you heard all these names before, you heard Dick Cheney before. All these people are related. This is not coincidence. It's not coincidence. Stop thinking that everything is coincidence. If 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 equals fucking 8, well, I don't know how many twos I said, 10. Yo, bro, the math is simple. It's not hard mathematics. It's just y'all are so stupid. Not y'all, not my audience, but most people are so stupid. And they brainwash you to think that what you're seeing is not what you're seeing. You just don't know how to use your brains anymore, your minds anymore. And they made you believe that Donald Trump was a racist, is a racist, and he's been around in hip hop. He's been funding black people's businesses, HBCUs, was on Oprah. He was in all these places. Everybody embraced him before he went for the presidency. Everybody embraced him. Now, 2016, once he becomes president, now he is a racist. You got to use your brain. So what happened? He's 78 years old. So for this whole time, for 68 plus years, nobody called him a racist. I need y'all to use your brains more.
Is the Bushes for the last 150 years have been supplying international intelligence, and they were into what they call paper entrepreneurialism. They would acquire businesses and sell the components off. Uncle Herbie founded Halliburton, had something to do with Enron as well, which was energy development. Lolo Soetoro was international executive vice president for Standard Oil, and he was in the oil business, but he also ran the death squads for the Indonesian army.
Oh, it's funny because when you look him up, it just says that, like, you know, what do they say that no, he was an engineer? Whatever they say, it's like he did. They make it seem like he did. Oh, he was a geographer. That's what it says. It says that he was a geographer who did some work for the government.
I had a brother who was into that, and then the oil petroleum production was part of it. Anyway, you get Lolo Soetoro running the death squads for the Indonesian government, so that meant you had money. Indonesia might have had access to the world's largest oil reserves as they were perceived at the time. So Standard Oil used his muscle and his position to take over the oil industry in Indonesia, which they couldn't do under American law. So George Herbert Walker Bush, under the auspices of Uncle Herbie, George Herbert Walker, sets up Zapata Oil. they have a family holding company, Zapata Offshore Oil, which was chartered in Kuwait, by the way. Keep that in mind. And what winds up happening is George Herbert Walker, dealt with Lolo Soetoro quite frequently on oil deals. And remember, George Herbert Walker becomes chief of the CIA under the Ford administration, and he deals with their number one contract guy over in Asia, which when the NAM was going on, Lolo ran intelligence for the CIA under contract in China, North Korea, North Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Indonesia. So
You might not be following this as close as I want you to follow this, but he is alluding to something. All right. He's not going to break down every single thing. You got to just use your brain. Every one of these politicians before President Trump were all Manchurian candidates, especially the most popular ones. A lot of these guys, when you realize what's happening since Barack has been president, the division has never been as great as it is now. Nobody, my people, black people hasn't, well, that's another discussion. There's no such thing as white and black. Those are constructs. It's nationalities. Nationalities is how we label people. If you was Polish, we labeled you Polish. If you was Nigerian, you was Nigerian. If you was Mexican, you was Mexican. Puerto Rican, you was Puerto Rican. White and black is American construct. But besides the point, after Barack became president, identity politics came into the mix. It was all about, if this person isn't black, I'm not voting for him. We got to vote for all black people. We don't care about their policies. We just going to vote black. Chicago in the ruin. New York is in ruin. These places where these people did not look at a person's policies and they only voted on identity have been laid to fucking rubble. Almost rubble. Barack has been trained for this. Kamala as well has been trained for the position that she's in right now. And you will see soon. Because I'm going to go to another clip. I'm going to go to another part of this interview, which was very important to me, man. Like, this shit was crazy. Hopefully I got the clip right.
$1,000 a year because you're a mistress to somebody that's 60 years old and has put you in there, and then he gets you sort of promotion to another aspect of this when a lot of this was going on. And she and Willie Brown got detailed in the LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle a lot about what they were doing. So you're in your 20s, and this is 30 years ago, and you're getting paid $72,000 a month for showing up at 2 meetings a month, maybe 15 hours for the month, and everybody else on this panel that you're on is 60.
Right now, he's talking about when Kamala was younger, when she was dealing with Willie Brown. He was paying her $72,000 a month. That sounds wild. $72K a month is crazy. That's crazy. I need to hear that shit again. Hold on.
Everybody else on this, maybe 15 hours for the month, showing up at 2 meetings a month. Paid $72,000 a month for showing up at 2 meetings a month, maybe 15 hours for the month, and everybody else on this panel that you're on is 65 to 70 years old with a lifetime in medicine, and you have absolutely no medical background. and you're getting paid $72,000 a year because you're a mistress to somebody that's 60 years old and has put you in there, and then he gets you sort of promotion to another aspect of this same setup, and you get $120,000 a year for showing up for 2 meetings a month, and she misses 20% of them, and this is 30.
Okay, so he meant 7,200. He meant 7,200 a month because 72,000 a month does not equal 120,000 a year.
Years ago, $120,000 30 years ago is making $250,000 now.
Wow. And people need to know this is the true story of Kamala. People aren't making this up because it's election season. You can go back and read the article.
Yes.
In the LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle. I've read them. They were basically like, this woman is sleeping around and she's making a ton of money. You know, she slept with Willie Brown and he's just putting her into
Montiel.
Yeah, that's right. Putting her into positions of power.
And then there's the other thing too. They talked about how she got on with the DA's office in Alameda County and also some other things, and even getting to be U.S. Senator, which I found very peculiar because, you know, now senators are elected by constitutional amendment. They used to be appointed by the states. She is the first person, the only person in California's history to run with no Republican opponent for U.S. Senator.
I want y'all to hear that again. Put on your thinking caps. Listen to exactly what he's saying. Just listen, all right? Just listen. Straight from the horse's mouth.
First person, the only person in California's history to run with no Republican opponent for U.S. Senator.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, see, it's interesting, the whole 9 yards. And then there's another suspect thing, One West Bank. George Soros was the major investor in One West Bank. Mnuchin, later the Obama administration, and for 1 year in the Trump administration before he got fired, he was CEO. This is when they were having that mortgage foreclosure.
Listen, y'all, when y'all hear the name George Soros, you might not know too much about him, okay? But George Soros, when you hear that name, being involved with a company, being involved with a candidate, being involved with anything, you need to have your eyebrows raised and you need to be looking at what the hell this man is doing backing that company. That is one of the allegedly, let's say allegedly, just for the, because we on YouTube, that is one of the most powerful men on this planet. Also one of the most dangerous men when it comes to democracies and republics. He's one of the most dangerous men when it comes to that. When it comes to your freedoms, when it comes to you owning things, that is one of the most dangerous men on this planet. And George Soros.
A fraud situation. All right? I had 3 neighbors lost their properties behind this fraud. So just about every county in California returned indictments against Mnuchin and One West Bank. There were 5,200 plus counts of indictments returned. 5,200. Well, Soros and Mnuchin raised a lot of money for Kamala, quite a few $1 million for her to run for the office of Attorney General of the state of California. When she got elected, she used her authority to consolidate all of these indictment counts and dismiss them.
For all you people, and when I speak to people on the street, I say, yo, do you know how much Kamala did in California? If you just knew her history in California, you would not vote for her. You would run away from her. You would run fast. Did you hear what he just said? Let's play that again. A lot of y'all out there are voting for your demise and you don't even know it. If you're voting for Kamala, you are voting for your demise. You are voting for your absolute destruction. You are voting for society's destruction because of your ignorance. They say ignorance is bliss. No, it's not. Listen to what he said again.
Quite a few $1 million for her to run for the office of Attorney General of the state of California.
One West Bank or George Soros paid her $1 million to run for the state of California. When I told you this just now, 5 minutes ago. If you hear George Soros is backing somebody, you need to have your antennas up. You need to have your antennas up. A lot of y'all don't even know what's going on when we speak about the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. You don't even know what's going on. You just too busy watching Love and Hip Hop. Too busy watching this rapper buy a new chain. Those things don't matter at all. Your sovereignty is what matters.
When she got elected, she used her authority to consolidate all of these indictment counts and dismiss them. 3 weeks later, George Soros sells One West Bank for $3.42 billion. And then they raised a lot of money to get her elected as U.S. Senator without Republican opposition. Now, can you imagine California with no Republican candidate running against the Democratic Party candidate? Incredible. See, that's how she gets in. And at that point, she was Indian.
Oh, yeah. She was sworn in as Indian.
Yeah. So she wasn't talking about being black. I find something else, too. If you are part white and you're part black, what are you as far as Americans concerned? You're black. Mm-hmm. You're part Asian and part black. America takes you as black. So how does she get to be Indian, recognized as such, if she's got black in her? She doesn't.
No, she's without question Irish Indian. There's no question about it.
No.
She's Irish Indian.
Yo, the next time y'all watch an interview with Kamala, right? First of all, you don't know a black woman in your life named Kamala. You don't know not one. You know some white people named Donald. You might even know some black people named Donald. There's all types of people named Joe. There's all kinds of people named Candace. You cannot find not one black person. You can't find one black person named Kamala. That's the first red flag, right? There is certain names that you can find for certain races that are very common for certain races. It's just a common thing. The first time I ever heard of a Kamala was this chick. Never in my life have I heard of a Kamala. Now, if you think about Indians and their names, it's like Kamala could pop up as an Indian. Next time you see a Kamala interview, I want y'all to just freeze frame her face, right? And just look at her. Freeze frame it and look at her, bro. And just really look at her. You're like, yo, is this chick black? And you're going to really be surprised at what you think when you really look at her face. Shorty ain't black at all. She just got yellow skin. A lot of y'all are voting for her just because she's black. That is going to be, hopefully it's not. Hopefully we get Trump in and y'all could keep being stupid. But that is going to be your demise. Because even if we tell y'all, yo, she just started calling herself Indian less than a year ago. Black less than a year ago. She just started calling herself black. She wasn't black from 2023 3 down, she wasn't black. She was freaking Indian. You ain't thought about that? Have you not been around for the past 3.5 years and not see what's going on in this country? I'm gonna need y'all to use y'all thinking caps. Use your thinking caps, man.
You get this mythology in, but she's easy to control because A, she's lazy. I know a lot of lawyers, now senior members of a firm that I recruited to law school way back when at UCLA back in early 70s. And they'll tell you, she was not one that put in a lot of work when she prepared for a case. She'd shorten her hemline up every day of the trial, and somebody's supposed to be impressed. And we have somebody that counted on other people doing the work, and she did the casting couch thing to get to the top. But at the top, what are you going to do?
Exactly. If you're
You're
not
going to deal
qualified.
with Putin? He's probably got something waiting in the far wing of the Kremlin that looks a lot better than this 60-year-old woman.
When I make my decisions, especially for this election, on who I want to be president, right? You gotta discuss who will these presidents be talking to when they gotta discuss world business, world problems, discuss ceasefires, prevention of wars, during a war, potential wars. What is the personality of these presidents when they gotta face against Putin, President Xi, Kim Jong-un? There's nothing about Kamala Harris that states that she's able to handle her own when she steps in front of these people. Judge Joe Brown just said, yes, shorty, you was on the casting couch this entire time to get to the top. You finally made it to where you can actually see the top of the mountain. But now, what can you do? The casting couch thing can't get you further because now we got to see your skill set. What is your skill set? You are good at regurgitating talking points that your staff has been writing for you in the background. That's what you're good at. You don't have an original thought. You're the Manchurian Candidate. Barack Obama was the Manchurian Candidate. He was the greatest of them. You're just bad at it. He could talk. He could go off script a little bit, but he's going to do what the people in the back say. He's going to do that. You are just not fit to be a president. You're not even fit to be in any type of office, to be real. But go off, though.
Xi Jinping, you know, he's going to be inscrutable and, no.
Well, you even saw when Putin sat down with Tucker, he was very clear. He's like, I don't deal with your presidents. He heavily implied it's just a show and I deal with the CIA. Like, your presidents are not running the country. I deal with the CIA. And this was why the media freaked out when Tucker was going out there, because this is kind of, I think now, a known thing that the people that purport to be in charge are just puppets, and there's people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. And it seems like that is very much the military industrial complex. We're talking about Halliburton. We're talking about the CIA.
All right, man. This next clip is for the people out there that don't really respect the power of a president, right? Now, the reason what she just said is gonna contradict this next clip, because you're gonna realize the true power of a president and the reason why they don't want Trump in office.
People like that now. You've got some wishy-washy somebodies that would be nobodies if they didn't have the lifetime political connections where there is obvious corruption. You, for your entire adult life, have been on a government payroll, but you're a multimillionaire. It just doesn't equate. Not at all.
Right, right.
So, and by the way, you get people who are very vulnerable. And when you have somebody that's vulnerable, you can control them.
Emmanuel Macron, Barack Obama with his history, homosexual relationships. Yep, Biden.
Let me tell you about Biden.
Yeah.
Fox 2.5 years ago did a moot court thing where I was the judge on it in New Jersey. So we kind of got a jury selected, and they were going to play grand jury. Was there probable cause to believe that Hunter Biden committed an act in violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA? And we had the technician who worked on the laptops. And by the way, I said laptops, plural. There were 3, not 1 like the press is saying.
Wow.
And he downloaded all of them and had the documentation where he got permission from a perhaps high Hunter Biden. So we got to spend hours going through the laptops. There's a lot of incriminating stuff in there. Like, for example, I'm led to believe that one of the reasons that Trump wouldn't turn over the documents out of Mar-a-Lago is because they were deeply incriminating against Biden and Obama from what was being said on those laptops. This fool, this crackhead, even had White House tapes on that laptop. And they...
That wasn't the exact clip that I was looking for. That kind of was a clip for, this is why you're allowed to be president, is if we have compromising information on you. If we got compromising information on you, we can control you. And if you're president, you have all power. You're the most powerful person on the planet if you're the president of the United States. That's why they allow certain people to get in office. Trump wasn't supposed to get into office in 2016, but he blew Hillary Clinton out the water. Right now, from the current polls, which I'll do a video on this Red Eagle politics. He's been predicting elections for a couple years, and he's done a prediction 2 weeks before the election day, and what's going on in the polls right now, and things are looking very good. Trump is on his way for a third presidency. I'm gonna put the description in the description. I'm gonna put the link to this video that y'all can check it out. Thank you for watching another episode of Think Pieces and Conversations. I know I was sick today. Please give me some grace. Give me some grace. Give me some grace. I'll be back 100% at some point. But I'm out of here.